Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Susan Smith and I'm the host of My Journey to Islam, a new Al-Hikmah TV show in which we highlight the lives of Muslims in America, converts to Islam. Our hope is that their stories will inspire us to be better Muslims, inshallah. Our guest today is Sister Veronica Ali. Sister Veronica is a revert to Islam from the Hindu faith. She is a mother, a grandmother, a wife, and the vice president of a shipping company. Welcome to the show, Sister Veronica. Could you tell us a little bit about your childhood?
Assalamu alaikum, and it's a pleasure to be here with you to make this journey wonderful. I was born in a Hindu home. I grew up as a Hindu, and it was beautiful when I was growing up. I had always had this close relation with God. But when I went to school in England, I met my husband, and after proposing to get married, he insisted that, I had to convert to Islam, which I had no problem with. This was 44 years ago, and it has been a wonderful journey since then.
MashaAllah, that's really a lot of information. Let me go back and pick it apart a little bit. You were born in Trinidad, is that right?
That is correct.
And
yes.
You were born into the Hindu faith.
Yes.
And growing up, you were happy in your faith.
Yes.
Would you have considered yourself a spiritual child?
All the time. I was always saying my prayer, always sitting and thinking, one day I would love to be with God and to have that closeness and that oneness. Ever since I was a little child, I always, hope that one day I will be able to get close.
MashaAllah. So that tawheed, your fitra, or your original state of purity, was there from the outset, and you were searching from the beginning to get near to Allah.
That is correct, yes.
So being raised as a Hindu, you found Hinduism as a religion that allowed you to worship God. But then as time grew on, and I'm assuming that in Trinidad you were exposed to Muslims, you were
yes.
exposed to Christians. Did you start to look at other faiths and ask questions?
Well, growing up as a child, my father's best friend was a Muslim. And that was the only hope that I was really allowed to go and have vacations. And looking at the family, my father's friend's family, they were always at peace, and everything looked so wonderful. The prayer was really simple, and I started to think about it then, and we had a lot of Muslim friends growing up in our village, and I think I was comfortable with that religion also.
So you grew up exposed to different faiths and accepting of them?
Yes, yes.
And then you were in a Catholic school. Was that in Trinidad or later on?
That was in Trinidad. I attended the Catholic school. I went to church. I would go to Mass. And it is all because, I wanted to learn all about the other religions. I always thought that all religions taught you the same, as to believe in God, to be good, to grow up as a good human being, to love, and to help wherever you can.
MashaAllah. So then, fast speed ahead, you moved to London. Your family moved to London?
No, I went to school.
Oh, you went
London.
to school in London?
Yes.
To college?
To college, yes.
Okay. That's where you met your husband?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
I met my husband at one of his relatives' home, which was also a friend of my father. And from there, we met, and, I was not one to go out courting. So I told him, if you're really interested and you're serious, then we need to talk about that. And he was also very strong in his faith, in his religion. And we decided to get married. We got married at the Baker Street Mosque in London, had a really nice small Muslim wedding, and I started to learn more about it from there.
So your husband, he's also Trinidadian?
He is, yes, he was born in Trinidad.
And you met him over in London. So you met because of your common nationality in a common gathering, or how did you meet?
In a common gathering.
Okay, based on your home country.
Correct. Yes.
But then you got to know each other and wanted to consider engaging in marriage, and as a Muslim is allowed to marry out of the faith from the Abrahamic faiths.
Yes.
But from the Hindu faith, technically a Muslim would require the Hindu lady to convert to Islam. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
So you embraced Islam initially to get married.
Yes.
When, and that was 44 years ago, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
When and how did your embracing it from your heart and soul take place?
This was approximately 16 years ago, when Shaikh Shafayat was visiting from Trinidad. He gave a couple of sermons, and I attended the gathering, the functions, and I was very, very touched by the way he put things across. Us being human beings, we should love, we should cherish. That's what the religion taught us. And that is what I was really searching for answers, that I really wanted to hear. And Shaikh Shafayat gave me those answers, and I thought I was ready and I was comfortable to go full force with the Islam religion.
Okay, mashallah. Was that here in South Florida?
Yes, it was in South Florida.
So you were with your husband and you got married in London.
Yes.
In the Baker Street Masjid.
Yes.
MashaAllah. And then you eventually came and relocated to South Florida.
Yes.
And at that time you had joined him in the business of a shipping industry, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Coming here to South Florida, he affiliated himself with Darul Uloom Masjid.
Yes.
And Shaikh Shafayat.
Yes.
So you're still with your fellow Trinidadians and Guyanese and a broader group, Pakistanis, Arabs, reverts, converts. But throughout this time, you had then embraced Islam, but still had vestiges of your old faith because it wasn't entirely a conversion from the heart.
That's right. But I always loved the Muslim faith because I would look at my husband. He was very strong in his faith. And I would join him when he's saying his prayer. And, he would try to explain things to me. And at that stage I said that if I am going to the religion firm in what I believe, I think I would ask the questions to Shaikh Shafayat if I had any concerns. Because he's an Islamic scholar, and I'm certainly sure that I would get the correct answers.
MashaAllah. So was there any difficulty, because that's quite some time, 20-something years, it did take you to reconcile.
Yes.
And we know that the Quran was revealed over 25 years, so to accept something and to understand something, it can happen, if Allah wills, very quickly, or it can be a process. But having gotten to know you a little bit, Sister Veronica, I see that you're someone who really uses her head and really wants to know that she's making the right choices. What was it? I mean, sometimes we refer to something as an aha moment, but what was it that made you say, okay, from this point onward, I am going to embrace Islam fully, and this is a life-changing moment?
I was very comfortable at the stage when I heard Shaikh Shafayat, and I was very positive with myself. This is what I can understand. This is what is easy to follow. And I believe this is what is going to lead me to be with my God, as I always wanted to do from my childhood.
Could you describe a little bit, how did that look in terms of your practice? When did you start to pray? Was it one prayer a day? Did you start to pray the 5? How did that take place in your heart and your actions?
I started to pray early in the morning, the Fajr prayer. And of course I missed it during the day, and I will pray again with my husband in the evening and at night. But after deciding to go into Islam fully, that was my intention. I decided I am going to have to be praying 5 times a day, because this is what is required, and this is what I will be doing.
So from that point forth, when you had heard that khutbah or that lecture from Shaikh Shafayat, you made the commitment not to miss any prayers. Is that right?
That's right. That is the only way that I can really get into Islam. That is where I will be finding what I'm looking for, and that is one of the practices, and that is what I needed to do. And it's not so much of needing to do it, is to do what praying 5 times a day, I think is what I wanted to do.
And what happened in your life after that?
I became very peaceful, very loving to my fellow brothers and sisters. I'm a person always wanting to help, and it was very easy for me to open up on what I was reading. I read the Quran, I read the life of the Prophet, and that's where I think my journey wanted to take me.
So you had been studying all along, I'm guessing.
Yes.
And so we got to that point where you decided that this was the right thing to do.
Yes.
How did your family take it? Your father and mother, they were alive at that time, or they are alive?
They were alive at the time, but because we had family friends who were Muslims, my parents had no problem with that at all. They were a little bit unhappy about it, but they thought that my happiness that counts, and they were happy what I chose for myself. So I had no problems at all.
Mm-hmm. And your husband, they know him well by then and had seen your family.
Yes.
And mashallah, seen that not only was it functioning beautifully as a family unit, and you had 2 children, but also you had joined with him in a shipping business.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
The shipping business is really challenging. We needed to put in a lot of work, because it was a new start for me. And, we worked together beautifully. By the grace of God, everything worked out well. And we're still there today, giving the community a service, and even though helping out wherever I can.
MashaAllah. Well, at this point, we're going to take a break. We'll be back in a few minutes, inshallah.
Subhanallah. Tune in to Who's Who in America and in your community, hosted by Sister Naima Khan Ghani, with extraordinary guests every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. on www.alhikmatlive.com.
ولا إله إلا الله ولا إله إلا الله والله أكبر والله أكبر.
Tune in for Friday Khutbah at 1:30 p.m. broadcasting live from Darul Uloom Institute, Pembroke Pines, Florida, on Al Hikmat TV online.
जश्न आमदे रसूल अल्लाह ही अल्लाह.
Tuning to young Muslim talent in America, hosted by Salma Muhammad with talented kids from all over America, every Saturday night at 8:30 p.m. on www.alhikmatlive.com.
Oh, Jashne Amade Rasool. Allahi Allah.
Thinking of doing Sadaqah Jariyah for your near and dear ones? We recommend you to sponsor the Origin of True Islam brochure, the Genealogy of Prophets, or the surahs and zikr to be recited daily as Sadaqah Jariyah for your parents who have passed away. Or you could sponsor one of the items for yourself, fi sabilillah. For more details, contact the Al Hikmat office at 1-800-804-0267 or 954-986-0158 or email us at alhikmat@alhikmat.com.
Assalamu alaikum and welcome back to Al Hikmah TV. Our guest today is Sister Veronica Ali, and she is a convert to Islam from the Hindu faith. And before the break, Sister Veronica, you were telling us how you are the vice president of a shipping company, mashallah. At first impression, that may seem something that is somewhat of a male-dominated profession. How do you go about your job, and can you tell us a little bit about your day-to-day affairs?
Yes, you're absolutely right. It is a male-dominated business sector, but helping my husband, as a female, we have to be very firm in what we say, in what we do, in carrying out our business. But I enjoy it. It's opened up quite a bit because there is a lot of female who have now joined this type of business. So it is not unpopular anymore. And it's really interesting, you deal with people all over the world. It's a lot of laws and regulations that we have to follow. It's very interesting that, we have to keep up, with these laws that come into being, especially with the United States government and shipping abroad. We need to know the laws of each country, what we can do and what we can't do.
MashaAllah, that seems fascinating. There's the U.S. laws, there are international laws of the sea, there are the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they all come together. How has your faith influenced your role as the vice president of such an important company, and with business as far away as London, India, the West Indies?
My faith has influenced me a lot by being very kind, speaking very polite, helping others, giving information, helping, wherever I can to teach my customers the laws of what they need to know, of what they need to do, so that the business can progress and they're happy at the end of when their function is finished.
So do you find that Islam helps you keep a more level head, or?
Yes, absolutely. Every time I think I want to get angry, I think of Allah. I say my prayer. If I have someone who is really angry on the other end of the phone, I listen carefully. I do not give a firm reply immediately, but eventually I'm very diplomatic, and with the help of Allah, I get through and give a proper answer.
MashaAllah. So in relying upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you've actually become stronger, more fair, and a better boss.
Yes, I believe so.
MashaAllah,
Yes.
MashaAllah. I wanted to move on to another topic, and I read in the Sun Sentinel here in South Florida, they did an interview about you, and you talked about making Hajj last year. That must have been a journey of a lifetime.
Yes, that is my passion. I love to speak of my experience in Hajj. I went to work one day. It was any ordinary day. I sat down at my office at my desk, and my secretary bought my coffee for me as usual, and the tears were just flowing. And I said, I am going to Hajj. I will make intention this minute, I am going to Hajj. It was just a feeling that came over me.
Subhanallah.
And I immediately called my husband and I told him to please advise Shaikh Shafayat, I am going to Hajj. It was a very firm decision.
MashaAllah. So this was, as we know, when we make Hajj or Umrah, we must be invited by our Lord.
Yes.
So from the tears coming down your face, it seems that you were getting that invitation straight through your heart.
Very strong invitation indeed. Very, very strong. And with my journey going into Hajj, there was no difficulty. It was a pleasure. I was so happy. I just couldn't wait for the day to come by. I was really looking forward to that day.
MashaAllah. And you had made Umrah before, which was something of a primer.
Yes. It was the first 10 days of Ramadan 4 years ago. And that was a very wonderful experience also. And hopefully, inshallah, in the future, I would love to go for the whole month of Ramadan.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Let me ask you, Sister Veronica, how did you feel when you first laid your eyes upon the Kaaba?
It was so emotional. My tears were flowing, just could not stop. I just didn't want to move from where I was standing. I felt that if I passed away, that would be the correct time for me. I was so emotional, so happy. I was there with my God.
MashaAllah. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He rewarded you with yet another invitation to go back and fulfill the fifth pillar of Islam.
Yes, that also was even a greater experience. From the minute that I got on that aircraft going to Germany, on our way to Mecca, I was so elated. I thought of no one around me, no one in front of me. I just wanted to be there. I felt so strong of, my being there with my God that I just didn't think of anything or saw anything around me.
MashaAllah. You mentioned making Umrah, that you felt at peace with your Maker.
Yes.
And then here you are performing Hajj and crossing the Miqat and landing in Jeddah. So I'm thinking you're feeling still at peace with your Maker, even more so.
Even more so at peace. And there was one situation when I went to Umrah, in Medina. I went to the Prophet's Mosque. I sat right at the back on a chair, and I looked around and I thought, my goodness, I am sure I'm in heaven. It's a feeling that I cannot really explain to anyone. I just felt that strong, the strong faith that I had, that I am there, my God is looking at me, I am here, you're seeing me, and I have met with you. And that was it. If I had passed away at that moment, I would be really at peace.
MashaAllah. So going to make Hajj, of course, you had already made peace with everyone, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Taken
yes.
care of your loose ends.
Yes.
Asked everyone for forgiveness.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And here you are today, a year after your Hajj. Let's go back to the Hajj, though. Going to Arafah. And we are told as Muslims, Hajj is Arafah.
Yes.
Tell us about that beautiful day.
That was the most wonderful day of all. When it was coming to sundown, and you put your hands up, begging God for what you want. And that is when, in totality, I thought, yes, I did it. My God is there looking at me, and whatever I asked, He is listening to me. And all I ask for peace, forgiveness for what I may have done to anyone, and to just keep me safe and healthy. So inshallah, one day that I will be back, to perform another Hajj.
Inshallah. Alhamdulillah, I performed Hajj, but listening to you, I feel I want to go back very quickly again. MashaAllah.
Inshallah.
Now, when we leave Hajj, there's of course that period of time where we still feel so deeply connected to the Holy Land.
Yes.
And then landing in South Florida, which is like the heart of the dunya, and there's so much materialism and corruption, and there are all of these temptations, and then back to the phone ringing in the shipping business and all of that. How long did it take, or has it not worn off, that beautiful feeling?
You know, Sister Susan, it has not. And I think I'm even a better person, because every day I wake up, you know, I think about my Hajj experience. I think of all the good times that I had there, all the peaceful and wonderful times, and I dream of being at Hajj.
MashaAllah.
I dream so much of, you know, of being in Mina, in Arafah, and you know, it's such a wonderful feeling when I wake up in the morning that I can face the world, and nothing that can happen in my business is ever going to get me upset or annoyed. I am there to help, and that is what my God wants me to do, to be a good person to every human being on this earth, and that is what I would like to be.
So it was truly a transcendent experience.
Absolutely. Yes.
And Sister Veronica, how has that played out? Have you increased your ibadah since Hajj? You were telling me that you often, in fact regularly, pray Qiyam al-Layl.
Yes. It becomes a normal procedure as waking up for Fajr. You know, you know when it's time to pray, and you know, you make yourself available. I think the Lord is there somehow telling you, reminding you, this is what you have to do, and it just happens at the right time.
We talked a little bit earlier about you continually raising the bar. We can always strive to be better or closer. So in terms of getting closer to our Creator, what are your plans now?
I will strive and do my best to get even closer. And at this stage of my life at the moment, I would just need to do everything possible that I can to do what my good Lord wants me to do. I want Him to be pleased with me, and I will carry out myself in every single thing that I do, that hoping that God will be pleased with me.
Inshallah. Sister Veronica, you do have 2 children.
Yes.
MashaAllah, and 4 grandchildren. I'm sure your faith comes into practice with them. How do you spend your time with your grandchildren?
Well, they live a little further away from me, but I'm in contact with them every day on the phone, and I speak to them a lot about saying their prayer, be good to their friends in school, always help. And I hope one day that they're going to be like me and follow me, in what I want to do, in what I want to achieve. So far, my grandchildren, they're very good children to their parents and to their friends. My granddaughter is always raising funds to help the needy. She raised funds for the orphans. She raised funds for breast cancer. She raised funds for 9/11 victims, and I am so very proud of her.
MashaAllah. Speaking of 9/11, you bring this up. Last week was the 10-year anniversary of 9/11. As a Muslim, and people often blame Muslims for this, or Islam, astaghfirullah. How do you respond when people say things about Muslims?
I do not get upset. I do not get annoyed. I just pray to God that one day that they will be able to read and understand a little bit more of the Muslim religion, and those who were in that 9/11 onslaught. This is my belief, they do not belong to the Muslim faith. They are just using it as a front, and they don't believe in God. Because a Muslim, as we all know, is a believer in God. You cannot call yourself a Muslim if you do not believe in God and you do such heinous acts. So they have to believe being born in a Muslim home does not make you a Muslim. You have to believe in God. And God wants us to be loving and kind to each other. That is why He sent all the prophets to the different parts of the world, so that we may know each other and be together with each other, love each other and help each other, not destroy.
Yes. And it's very important to separate Islam from the acts of certain human beings who certainly have strayed from the faith. At the same time, 9/11 is a wake-up call for us as Muslims to be more active and in getting to know our friends and our neighbors and introducing and explaining the true Islam. Now, I know you've been in the newspaper and now you're on TV. What else are you doing to tell the world about the true Islam?
I would love to have meetings. Anyone I meet on my travels, or they come to my office and we have this conversation, I try to tell them what true Islam is all about. It is a very, loving religion. We're here to comfort each other. We're here to know each other, to help each other. If I'm on the street and I would see someone in need of help, I'm not going to ask you what is your religion. I will pick you up and I will give you the best that I can give you to make you feel better if you're ill, to help you, to give you a good word of advice. And that is what we should be doing. With everyone we meet, we should be able to advise them and let them know what true Islam is all about.
Sister Veronica, we have just a minute left. In wrapping up, what would you say to someone who is contemplating the Muslim faith?
I would say, come and listen to our lectures. Just ask all the questions you want to ask, and hopefully we will have the right answers for them, inshallah. And all the love that we show them, the kindness, and what the true faith is all about, I am sure it's going to be positive for them.
Thank you very much, Sister Veronica, for joining us on this show. It has been wonderful speaking with you, and I am inspired by you, and inshallah our viewers will be inspired by you as well.
Thank you. Hopefully, inshallah, we will be able to meet and do a little bit more on trying to get others to understand what our beautiful religion and what our faith is all about.
Inshallah, inshallah. And that brings an end to our program for today. Assalamu alaikum.
Sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sallallahu ala Muhammad, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.